Brothers and sisters, I am comparing the Christian and Islamic viewpoints about the death of Jesus or Isa. First, let us see the Christian viewpoint before seeing the Islamic perspective. When Jesus started his public life, Prophet John the Baptist or Yahya said, "See, here is the Lamb of the God." Accordingly, Christians believe Jesus is the eternal Lamb of God who was sacrificed. Through the generations, our ancestors offered animals and produce to God for the forgiveness of their sins, to please and to reunite with God. Well, God doesn't need them, but He used to accept the sacrifice anyway, since it was the external sign of their commitment to be faithful to God. Christians believe that Jesus was crucified, died, and on the third day resurrected. He continued to perform miracles, teach, explain, and instruct His disciples. On the 40th day, He ascended to heaven. About 500 people have seen Him alive after His resurrection. Many of those people were still living when some portions of the Bible were being written. Jesus will come back again for the final judgment of the world. Won't you agree, my friends, that God is the one who created the sinful human nature and who gave the free will to do right and wrong? So, God has to design the salvation plan also. Jesus is the sacrificial Lamb of God. So, for salvation, we need to accept the Lamb of God. But please be aware that Satan will always try to deviate people with his cunning lies. Now let's check the Islamic viewpoint. Quran Surah Al-Nisa 4:157 to 159 says, "They did not kill Isa nor crucified, but it appeared like that to them. Those who say Isa was crucified are in doubt. They have no knowledge. So don't bother to pursue that opinion." This is all that Quran says about Isa's death. So now we have a conflict between the Christian and Islamic viewpoints. Let's check which is the correct view using the existing evidence and arguments. Please be open-minded. Evidence 1 for crucifixion. Muhammad's argument lacks detail. It is just a wishy-washy saying. My dear brothers and sisters, if you attack an established fact, you need to show proof and details. You cannot simply throw out 2 or 3 sentences and force people to believe it. Christians, historians, and eyewitnesses have taught and established the crucifixion of Jesus. But Muhammad comes with a conflicting theory, but there is no detail or a single explanation. Quran explains many events in other situations. Now how the ant talked to Solomon, how the palm tree talked to Mary, how Dulkarnain traveled to places of sunset, etc. If Quran is reliable, it should have given more details. The crucifixion is one of the most important differentiating facts with Christianity. If Quran is true, then why is it not giving any details? Like what is the name of the person who died, what really happened to Jesus, etc. If Quran is the greatest books, why should people have to depend on secondary books? For example, the hadiths, they are again contradicting. So people can selectively choose the hadiths according to their convenience. So evidence 1 shows Muhammad simply did not know the facts. Evidence 2. What does the eyewitness, enemy and neutral historian say? Bible is the account of the eyewitnesses and the people most closely related to the events. They unanimously explain the crucifixion of Christ in detail. They show historical events, geographical facts, theological reasoning, and the full details by 4 different people. Please read the 4 Gospels or other Christian accounts to verify. Now, what does the Jews say? The Babylonian Talmud of Sanhedrin 43a, that belongs to the time AD 70 to AD 200. It clearly says, on the eve of the Passover festival, Yeshua the Nazarene was hanged. This is a solid proof from Jewish angle about the death of Jesus. Now the neutral historian. Josephus was a famous Jewish Roman historian who lived in the 1st century. He knew Israel history and he clearly writes in his book Antiquities 18.3.3, it says about the death of Jesus. Now Cornelius Tacitus, he was a Roman anti-Christian historian. He explains many events including the Christ put to death by Governor Pontius Pilate in Israel, and he even mentioned the persecution of Christians by Roman emperors. Then there are plenty of other Christian historians confirming the death of Christ. So, evidence too from the eyewitnesses and the historians clearly shows the crucifixion and death of Christ. Evidence 3. What is the motive if crucifixion is a lie? Every judicial court considers the motives. Why should Jesus and his disciples hide the truth and preach a lie? Let us see the facts. 1. Before crucifixion of Christ, for centuries, the world regarded crucifixion as a shameful and a cursed death. So, if possible, the disciples will never say a lie that would harm them. 2. The leader of the apostles, Saint Peter, Jesus' mother, his relatives, future followers like Saint Paul, and even the enemies of Christians, all of them spoke that the Jesus Christ was crucified. Then we know Jesus had reappeared to his disciples many times. So even Jesus would not have allowed a pathetic lie. 3. It was easy and glamorous to say that Jesus ascended to heaven, defeating the death, and that he is still a youth in heaven after centuries. Imagine that teaching. That way the Romans, Greeks, and the rest of the world would have accepted Christianity more faster. Yet, my friends, why did the disciples and 20 centuries of Christians preach that Christ was crucified? The only fact and conclusion is that death by crucifixion was the only truth. The followers were the eyewitnesses, and they had no need to fabricate a lie. Okay? Now let's see the other side of the coin. Is there a motive for Prophet Muhammad to say that Christians lied? My friends, if Prophet Muhammad accepts that Christian teachings were true, then there is no need or relevance for Muhammad's life. So he had a need to say main Christian teachings were wrong. Only then the people will be ready to die for him. Then only the people will accept his controversial lifestyle, which was just opposite to the teachings of Christ. So my brothers and sisters, now you know who had the motive to lie. Evidence 4. Islamic accounts are totally conflicting. Since Quran does not give any detail, as usual, we are forced to read the hadiths which are conflicting and to suit different situations. Here are some hadiths.